Hey everyone, my name is Andrew Davis, and you're watching Conversations in Pop Culture. And yes, I am scandalous like an Ashley. And this episode is brought to you by my friends over at Pocket Jack Comics. And right now, they are coming to a local comic store near you. And you can check out what they do and get a preview copy of their books, Guinevere and the Divinity Factory and Palace of the Golden Princess at pocketjackcomics.com. Again, their email list, free preview PDF copy. And in March/April, they are going to be in comic shops. And there's going to be some really fun, sexy covers coming to comic shops. So go bother your stores and order those books, and hopefully they're going to be on the shelves, and you're going to have a great time reading them. But enough about that, because I have with me comic creator and writer Steve Streetman. So welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back, Andrew. How is it going?
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy football season is over and it ended the way I wanted it to. And I did all right. They bought me 6 shares of Lionsgate, everybody, the Chiefs. And Taylor Swift funded my Roth IRA, but that's neither here nor there. But hey, it's a love story. What can I say?
Taylor Swift, man.
Between Taylor Swift and Travis.
Taylor Swift, the hottest thing alive right now. And I see you came prepared. You're in your Squirtle shirt again, and you have the what is it? The judgmental leopard above your head. So
it's a cheetah. I think it's a cheetah.
The cheetah judges me for getting it wrong every time. So
it's a cheetah that was shot in, I believe, Kenya with a camera. With a camera. I want to make that crystal clear, everybody. With a camera.
We took a photo and then we saw it.
For those who don't know, my father is a photographer who goes on safaris to Kenya, Tanzania. Very cool. He's going on a trip in about 18 months. It's going to be very cool.
So where have you been? Have you been to any of these
safari
trips?
I went to London, and that's as far as I went.
I don't even think they have a forest nearby.
Hey, a pub is perfectly fine for me. There's plenty of
yeah.
I'm not going to finish that statement.
There, I'm sure.
There's so many things I could say to finish that statement. But anyway, enough about that, because you got a lot going on. Obviously, I want to talk about a bunch of different things that you have happening. But you are in the middle of a Kickstarter right now. And I think it's Cherry and Diamond, or Diamond and Cherry. I forget which way it goes. But obviously,
Diamond always gets her name first. Always. But that actually tells to their characters as well. There's a reason for that. There's also another thing on the Kickstarter. There's more covers of Diamond than there are of Cherry Blossom. Okay, because Cherry Blossom is always in the shadows of Diamond. Cherry Blossom is always in the shadows of Diamond. So that's just little things like that I always like to tell, whether it be the cover on the Kickstarter or even in the title. Like, I'm giving you a piece of the story at all times. So
yeah. So what is the basic premise of this book? Because obviously you did the first one, and obviously you did a preview issue of the Flawless Universe. Then you did your first issue of Flawless, and then my understanding, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that you're almost doing a story of one character, then you go to the next one or two, and then you do it, and then eventually they're going to collide somewhere in the universe at some point, all these characters.
Yeah. So what I'm doing is kind of risky, because it's like I'm not letting everybody just grab. I got Amber Moon right here from Smoke, the very first issue. I could let the fan base just continue to grow on her and get bigger and bigger, and really build an audience that way. But I'm telling micro stories of these characters, and this essentially is called, and I don't think I gave you this name last time because I was waiting until I finished a few things on my end, but this is the origins of the Flawless Five. Okay, so you got Smoke, you got the Flawless Universe Presents Smoke, you got the Flawless Universe Presents the Duchess, and now you're getting the Flawless Universe Presents Diamond and Cherry Blossom Part 1 and Part 2. Okay, so that's going to give you 4 out of the 5 characters. Let's
talk about this, because it's interesting, right? Because there's many different ways how to build a universe and build a world. And obviously you can go and you have a character, and then maybe you have your arc, and then you have spin-off entries in and all that stuff. Obviously you're taking a different approach, just saying, I want to develop these characters in almost micro worlds in part of that's almost the way I do it. And tell me to shut up if I'm wrong, but I feel like you're developing them in micro worlds first, and then you're
Well, I'm going to give you the worst analogy ever, okay? Because you, me, and no one else under the sun might get it. But if there's, the one or two females that are watching this right now, okay? Team Jacob versus Team Edward, okay? Are you even with me? Or that's Twilight for anyone who doesn't know. That's Twilight. And I remember my wife whenever we were dating, she had a Team Jacob shirt because that was around the same time that Twilight had come out, and it's like everybody kind of starts choosing their character that they relate to. A lot of people love Team Edward, a lot of them, and that's how I'm seeing it with the girls too. Is that none of the girls are alike, so it's not like that whenever a guy is going to see the different covers that they're going to be like, oh, some of them are going to be like, okay, they're all hot chicks. They're all really cool outfits. I want, and they're cool covers. I want these, but they're always going to gravitate to one of them more than the other five because their characters are completely different. Their personalities, their looks, everything about them is completely different. And so like, I'm giving you multiple different versions. You got the MILF and the Duchess, you got the schoolgirl and Amber Moon. So, and everything in between.
It's just the way I like this, and maybe I'm a little bit different because I like long form storytelling. I like understanding, and it's almost like we're getting these characters very much in a micro environment before they get introduced to a bigger world. And I think it's a real interesting way how to introduce characters.
Yeah, Wall 5 issue number 1 coming in August.
but also where I go with this is that it's nice to say, cool, we're just getting these characters and we're not complicating things because we go into a world of Justice League. And I'll use them as an example. There's a lot of moving parts in the Justice League. And, Batman or the Flash sometimes gets lost, or Superman gets lost, or Green Lantern gets lost, or Hawkman or Cyborg gets lost in there. And you're like, well, this issue of the Justice League was Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman primarily, and then the other 4 took a back seat. But when we get a micro position, we're saying, cool, we know now Amber Moon has this personality trait, so that when you do complicate things later on, we have a sense of her personality before all the complications. So you don't need to have her personality be developed while having a major crisis going on. And it's a very creative way how to almost create character attachment.
Yeah, so like so talking about the cinematic universe of Marvel and DC, and I have a TV, my background in writing was originally in TV, not in comic books. And so it was definitely a difficulty for me to transition to the comic verse versus going from the comic verse to, the cinematic verse. So, which you typically see it that way. But whenever Justice League came out and the Avengers Part 1 came out, okay, which one was better? And some people have a different opinion, but what do you say?
I mean, I was not a fan of the Justice League. I wasn't. But I like the Snyder Cut a lot more. I thought that was definitely more comic book oriented.
But do you know why you have to choose Marvel over the Justice League, the Avengers over the Justice League in that situation? Do you know why?
Yeah, I do know why. At least I think I know why for me.
Okay. Let's hear it for you, and then I'll tell you just kind of like the psychological aspect of it, and we'll see if they match up. Go for it. What's your reason for liking the Avengers movie 1 versus the Justice League, for the first Justice League?
I was dating a girl and she wanted to go. So no.
You're like that's the same reason I like The Ring. Okay, I was like, okay, I got to go to the theater with the girl, and
no. For me, I just felt that the Avengers were just more easily connectable for me. And I kind of felt that, hey, I could see me as Cap or see me as Iron Man. And I felt that there was a connection and it was an easier leap for me to connect to those characters. And I felt the Justice League was further away from me as
not only did you have a connection to those characters, some girl had a connection to those characters and wanted to go see that with you in the theaters. Was there a girl who asked you to go see the Justice League?
No, there was no girl. There's a bunch of
That's my
guys who
point.
asked me. They're my
Exactly.
friends.
Whether it's men or women. And women will, I think women will really enjoy my books. Actually start seeing the story being told. This isn't just for men. Like, yes, I've got the hot covers and everything, but it's a story that anybody can connect to. Whether they want to. So there's two things you could either want to do is you could either want to be with them or you could want to be them. So
or you could want to be on a team with them. I mean,
yeah.
I'll be honest. I interview a lot of attractive women on this show, and it's not that I want to sleep with a bunch of the people that I interview, but I want to hang out with them sometimes and be like, "What is your life like?" And I would love to be in a bar and just bullshit with them because they're fascinating human beings. And so when I read a comic and I read a bad girl, a bunch of ass kicking chicks or chicks who can kick your ass, it's like, I'm like, cool. Like, I would love to be on a superhero team with that. And let's just fuck up shit. Because like that's also, I think part of it is that it's kind of cool where you see characters and you're like, man, this looks cool.
Yeah,
And
hey, and probably just like the people that you interviewed, they've been able to build up their fame and everything that they have in their life. But I bet they also had to go through a lot of shit to get there. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that word in here, if you have to
Mhm,
bleep that,
mhm.
but that's what we have to deal with these girls because they're not ones that just immediately get it. They're not just, it's not an overnight success for these girls, even though they got the powers in one night. In some cases, the powers make their lives harder because they're having to figure out now life and powers. And so, yeah, they're ass kicking chicks, but they're also trying to figure out stuff just like you and me.
No, see, it's interesting. And then obviously, I want to dive further into this because you run an interesting, campaign, and obviously, I have some pictures. I don't have all the covers, but I have enough. Obviously, you do a bunch of cosplay covers,
Yeah.
and so this is referencing Punchline. I think it is a safe assumption there. This is referencing Gwen Stacy. These are really cool right here. And I have a beautiful book. It's referencing this. So there are people who will buy that book for this because they have this book, and I didn't want to grab my Felicia cover because it would be difficult to grab it. But obviously
But we
that
did both. Yeah, just there it is. Yeah, Felicia's Loft. If anybody knows, that's Black Cat #1. So we did a homage of that one, and we did a homage of Amazing Spider-Man 601, and it was literally a last-minute decision. We were going to break those up. People were going to have to wait to get the Black Cat one on part 2. And it was very last minute. We decided, okay, we're going to let both of them be available on this Kickstarter. So, and that was decided literally 2 days before.
and so what is that like too? Because obviously there's a bunch of other covers in this campaign. But what is that like? Because obviously homages and homages and referencing covers like 601
Yeah.
and the Black Cat one, and obviously J. Scott Campbell, those will attract a certain customer. And people
Sure. But I can tell you, like, I would love to be in the head of someone else who's putting out a Kickstarter to see what their idea is for whenever they're putting together, picking out the covers. But for me, I had I have so many different covers to choose between to put up on this Kickstarter, but I want people to be excited about every cover because I have a bundle option to where you get an amazing price tag to where you can just have it all. Okay. And so I'm like, what is going to be the covers that people would want to have every single one of them. I've seen too many times because I'm that type of backer. If you go look at the previous one, Kickstarters I've backed, I like to get the big bundle. But I can tell you, there's been too many times where I get on there and I say, okay, there's 10 covers, 6 are good, 3 are great, 4 are good, and the other ones kind of suck. Okay,
this is interesting because I am a little bit different, right? And I have a very different opinion where if I'm to build a Kickstarter and I have 5 covers, I want the superstar cover. and I want to drive traffic a certain way on my Kickstarter. And I've heard, because you're the first person who said, I want every cover to be like the cover. And I've seen campaigns where there's been 3 superstar covers and the campaign failed on a funding level where it funded, but it didn't raise what the book needed to raise.
Yeah.
Because you had 3 massive covers competing against each other, which meant your expenses went up and people didn't buy all of everything. And they bought one of the super ones and then they dropped the rest. And this happens sometimes when you have variants. If you put, Jamie Tyndall on a book and you put, Adam Hughes on a book, you might have a problem where people might be only Jamie Tyndall fans and they're not going to go jump to the Adam Hughes book. And you might have Adam Hughes fans who don't.
Adam Hughes, if you're watching, we work with Jamie Tyndall. We haven't got Adam Hughes yet, but
you get where I'm going with this. And so
yeah, exactly.
That's why I think this is so interesting, because I've heard people say, I designed my Kickstarter with my covers that I have 6 covers, and my goal is to kind of hit that mid-range and maybe get, a bundle of the not safe for work covers where it's this one and this one, and it's $35, and I'm trying to drive traffic to that tier, or I'm trying to drive traffic to a $20 and an add-on of 10. And so it's so interesting to hear you saying, look, I have 50 covers and I want everybody to buy everything. And
I feel like I haven't done justice if I haven't if people, maybe they can't afford the big bundle, but I at least want them to say, man, I wish I could have had that big bundle. It was so amazing. I feel like I haven't done my job because I know not everybody's going to be able to drop that price, but that's
interesting too. That's interesting too, because I mean, it's expensive. Let's call it what it is. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but even with that too, I mean, I don't think the value is the problem with that. I just think $1,500 around that is a lot of money. It's a lot of money. But what is that like too? Because obviously I feel like, with a cover like this, even, the regular one, I think it's what, $30. And I think there's still value in a lot of these covers. And what is that like too? Because I think that's a big issue where I don't know if people fully understand value.
Yeah. The difference in cost and value, they're 2 different things. And this is one of those things that I come back to, the writing side of what I do, which so that'll be part 1 that I would say where the value is behind it. Not because my writing's great. I think it is. It's some of the best that's out there. But that's not the reason why. The reason why is because I'm telling a story that goes until like 2027 already. Okay, that's how much I've written already. So this isn't something that's ending anytime soon, and people are going to be like, "You remember that Flawless Universe? Which one was that?" No, they're going to be like, "That shit's still here, and it's still doing some boss ass covers." Okay, so that's going to be one thing, that the value's just gonna still be living for years. We're not going anywhere. And me and Ashley didn't give up everything to launch this for us to be done in 2024. So we plan. Oh, I don't know if you saw it. I'll share one more thing with this and I'll let you have it back. I had just found the very first image of me starting the Flawless Universe, December 13th, 2021. You hear that year? When did I launch? July 16, 2023. 2.5 years after that. I didn't try to just push out something the next day. I made sure that whenever it came out that it was prepared to be something.
We'll talk about that in a sec. So this is my point though that I'm getting at with value and understanding, is that I'll back a Kickstarter, and I understand that there's a limited 100 print run on something. And so I'm understanding that it might cost $15, but there's only 100 of them out there. And so I also, just picked up, I'm a big card collector, and I just picked up a random pack that has 5 actors. You get 1 of 5 actors in there, and each card has 85 copies. So the value is that it's $100. Now, one of those is probably worth more than the others. But again, there's the value is that everything is massively limited. And I think that's what people don't understand, because, and correct me if I'm wrong, I don't think there's going to be many copies of these books outside of Kickstarter.
So we don't ever take our limits higher than 150. And in most cases, they're around 25 to 50 in quantity. And in some cases, they're only limited to 5, or I have to say or too, because every once in a while we'll release a 1 of 1. So, and every once in a while somebody will own 1 of 1 because they showed up and bid on it and won it on our show. And you did. You showed
We're going
up.
to talk about that too. I want to talk about that too in a second. But the reason why I bring this up is that we go back to value. Is when you back a Kickstarter, and if I know, I'll use this because it's Gwen Stacy. If I know that there's only 50 of those out there and it's $35, you know, the value of that is very different than the cost. And obviously, it's a collectible cover, it's a variant, and that's where this gets tricky. Is that, you know, I really, as somebody who invests in comics, looks at comics, collects comics, I really enjoy having limited print runs. And because I want to feel like I'm in a club, right? And even tabling the resale value of that, it's very cool when I know that there's only 5 of a book, or there's only 50 of a book, or there's only 100 of a book. And I'm sure you're the same way, right?
Yeah.
I mean, if you know there's 10,000 copies of a book, you treat it differently than if there's 5 of them.
Yeah, and you're gonna have some collectors that are like, I don't care if there's 60,000 copies of this, I just want one. And then but then you're gonna have another group that's gonna say, I like the low quantity. And then there's like, why not appease both of them by giving them an awesome cover and a low run, to where it's like, you know, like that 601 homage. Like, a lot of people are gonna want to get their hands on that, and not everybody's going to be able to. So it has nothing to do with just it being a low quantity. It also has to do with the fact that it's just a cool cover. A lot of people are going to just want it.
And there's also people saying, hey, look, I don't really know what this is, but I'm a 601 collector, and there you go. And that happens too.
And that was the first time we ever did a homage that was actually like one of them we knew people sought out. Because again, we just like putting together cool covers. So our last one was based off the Marvels 14, Adi Granova, Scarlet Witch, and Vision, which nobody probably knows what that is. But it was a really cool cover, and I was like, I want to see that done again, but with my characters. And then the one before that, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, #1. I took that one and did Amber Moon with her and her dragon.
Yeah, who wrote that book? Because wasn't that more recent, that book?
The Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, or
yeah, Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. What wasn't the
variant for that? Say that because I was actually just like researching that one again last night, and I don't remember who it was. It's like Minch or something.
Because I think I was at like a con, and the guy who worked on that was there, and I should have forgot his book. Great book. He did another book that was fun, like something with a rocket. It was a fun book, but I digress.
I have to trade paperback to Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur, and it's a good read. So you know, pick up some books and read them sometime. There's stuff on the inside.
But and even going further into this, obviously you did this as well. This one right here, there's a bunch of nude versions of that. And then these are super limited, I think.
Extremely limited. The metal. This is the first time for us to do this. Gold metal covers, just for these 3. And that's it. And those 2 of those covers, that's the only way you can get those. You got Wet Diamond over there on the right by Walter Schuldenleber, and that's the way you get them. If you want them, you get them in the metals there, and the gold metals. And it's really cool that we were able to put these together with not only our art team but also our artist. So yeah, we're excited about that one. Super low run on those as well. I think they're limited to 10. I don't have the numbers right here in front of me, but I think each one of those, there's only 10.
So let's actually talk about that too, because what is this like? Because obviously on Kickstarter, and feel free to disagree or challenge me or whatever, but I feel we are in a weird place on Kickstarter where we have readers, but I feel like almost in certain regards, readership is somewhat down, and people are coming a lot more for collectibles on Kickstarter. And I feel Kickstarter is a very collectible market where people want things that you can't buy in a store. Also, people feel, and the way I feel is that a bunch of books that are on Kickstarter are eventually coming into Diamond or Lunar. So if I just want to read your book for $2.50, I could wait 6 months, a year, and I would say 50% of the books are going to eventually end up in distribution, but they're not going to have those cool variants. And obviously, as a collector, I want a limited 10. I want a limited 5. I want a limited 150. I want those things that I can't necessarily get in a comic shop, and I'm willing to pay 20, 25 bucks, 30, or even $50 sometimes for that stuff. And so what is that like? Because it is, I feel, tricky because you got to play the variant game, but you also still need to have your story for the back end of this business.
Yeah. So I mean, the story has always been something that's special to me, and I think not just the story that's told, but the panels that are when you look at the panels on the inside, because it's too often that you can look at. I don't know if you can see this with my label on it, but you look at the cover and you say, "Oh, that's hot," and you open it up, and then you don't get good panels. You don't get sexy girls on the inside. You don't get cool action drawn as well in there. Maybe it's because it's quick. Maybe it's just like it's just a different artist and a different style. But we went for a really good look on the inside as well. And we do want people to read these books. And now that there is a catch with that is that so right now there's two ways for you to read it, and that's to open up your valuable collectible or to get the digital reader's copy. Okay. But the digital reader's copy is offered to everybody who backs the Kickstarter. Okay. Any physical backer is getting that digital reader's copy. And then we specifically called it the digital reader's copy. And I think, it's probably confused one or two people because they're like, oh, reader's copy. They think paper. But no, it's a digital reader's copy because this is the one I want you to read. Keep this one stored away safely and read this one, okay? And that's how we've done it. So I specifically put readers on there because people just send out a digital copy, and people are like, it's like I do that. It's those little things that I pay attention to. I want people to remember this is for you to read it, open it, look at it.
So I mean, because the way I view Kickstarter is that a lot of Kickstarters I back, I'm like, I just want the cover and I like the art, I like the artist, I like the concept in it. I came across your company and I'm like, this is cool. I like the covers. I don't really understand.
You see us first was it Kickstarter first?
No, I saw you guys first, I think either on Instagram or maybe on Facebook, something. I'm like, oh, cool. This looks interesting. And this company looks interesting. And they're similar to something like a Mount Olympus, a Zenoscope, a Bad Wolf, like zombies eat flesh, zombies eat donuts, things like that, or Bad Donut. Because what happens is that you come across companies and then other companies start appearing like that company. I mean, I hate to say it, but social media and Facebook on an aggregate level introduces me to more and more things that I'm like, cool, because I'm looking for merch and I'm looking for
there's so many good ones out there. That's for sure. Yeah.
And so all of a sudden, because I mean, I'll be honest, and we could talk about this, is that I have made a lot of money in comics by finding the stuff that's the alternative and is off the beaten path. And then 3 years later, that stuff gets a little less beaten off the path. And I don't think people realize that if you want to make money, you got to get ahead of the curve.
Mm-hmm.
And the curve will eventually catch up to you. And then you're there and you have all the good shit. And I was like, this is fucking awesome. And I'm like, yeah, I know that book, I got it. And that's usually how it works. And it just isn't in comics, it's usually in life. So
yeah. I mean, with all of it, it's speculation. But the more you can research and understand, what the company behind it is doing, then the more you can feel confident that you're getting something good, something that's going to be around, something that's going to last.
So let's actually talk about that too, because obviously I just mentioned a bunch of companies, right? So I'm going to make a position, and again, I'm open to the discussion. If I overstep or you disagree, I'm open to always being challenged.
Let's go.
But I find that Zenoscope, I find that Mount Olympus is been around for a while at this point, and I can consider them to be new. I consider them to be well established. I consider a place like Merc Mag and even some of what Comic Elite does, and I consider them to be a little bit less established than Mount Olympus and Zenoscope. And making money and having money and being successful is not an establishment requirement. But they're more the new kids, but they obviously run tight business operations, those companies, and same thing with Legends. But then I consider a bunch of places like Fargo's Lounge, I think it is one. Obviously, Zombies Eating Flesh, Bad Donut is another. and they're kind of sister companies. I think you're in that group a little bit. And then there's a bunch of other people who have come up. Bad Bug Media, I can make an argument on. And so in Cheeky Comics. And so what is this like? Because there's a bunch of new kids now who are in this space doing really good covers. And then there's a bunch of established players. And it's getting really interesting because I feel like there's divergence, but there's also an audience for that. And what is that like to be in this, I guess, new crop of kids? And there's probably about 10 to 15 more that I didn't mention, but what is that like? Because everybody's doing some cool shit at this point. I mean,
yeah, and now it almost feels like the renaissance of comics, like all over again, for like a second chance, because DC and Marvel have done have dominated this entire industry for what I was going to say decades, but a century now. They nearly they have dominated it, and we don't know if that will always continue, or if Vampirella will come and overtake them as the big company, or who's that, Dynamite, or Lady Death with Coffin Comics with Lady Death. Maybe they'll come and take over and be the next the big company, and it's not Marvel or it's not DC. It's anyone's ballgame, because not only are there new comics coming out, there's new artists that are constantly coming out too, and so you're seeing so much fresh new styles all the way across the board, and I'm loving it.
Did you also feel though that, I mean, do you know who Tom Hutchinson is from Big Dog Inc? I mean, have you heard the name?
Yeah.
So Tom did an action figure of Critter, one of his first like original characters, and he did an independent comic book action figure. And I don't think 5 years ago that could even be done on the table. Like we're talking about, it's got a bunch of posable like thumbs, extra hands, extra faces, some accessories, and he did about $32,000. And maybe this was like a year and a half ago. And I mean, they're expensive action figures. They're like $75 a pop. But the idea is that I feel like now also in comics is that if you're a company and you do it right, you could build action figures, you could build statues, you could be potentially be interested from one of these Hollywood companies or an agency for your property to turn it into an animation, a film, a television show. And I don't know if that was even readily available or accepted, because I think places like Netflix, Hulu, Peacock,
and
Amazon.
You're the source to all the news. So if people aren't watching him, then make sure you do, because he probably knows this answer. But I'm about to say that behind closed doors, there are multiple independent comic books that have already gotten deals for TV shows, movies, and video games. You probably already know this, but I'm throwing this out there in case anyone else does this.
So I'm going to add a caveat to that.
What's that?
I was going to add a caveat to that. I know a bunch of people who have options on their products and on their books. They don't necessarily have a green light. There's a difference between a green light and an option. So you can option anything, and Option Wars, that would be a sick show. That would be a sick show. It'd be a sick comic book. So
there you go.
I'm sure you know what I'm going to tell, and I don't think it's a secret. But studios will option things with no intention of making them, just because they don't want it to go somewhere else. So you can make the argument, and I'll just state it. Scott Snyder has a bunch of options on a bunch of his creator-owned properties. We may never see those properties become television, but then they say we don't want it to go somewhere else because we want what is called the option. Wow, that's kind of funny that they call it an option. But that's what optioning is. But then there's also a bunch of stuff that is actually green light.
I would need a green light. I don't think there's a dollar amount that's big enough for me to just have an option, because I believe that the story that is within is valuable enough to be seen on screens. And again, like I go back to, like that's my bread and butter. Like,
but the point is that, but my point going back to the question is that I think that we are in a time, and I think I know the answer to this, I think from you, but I'm just still curious what you think, where they want this content now, where 5 years ago, 10 years ago, this content was not frowned upon, but had less interest. And now,
Yeah. So I mean, I think what were our breakouts after Marvel and DC? We had The Boys and we had Umbrella Academy. And if you look at both of them were a lot more edgy than what you would typically see on the screen. And I think that's totally cool. Like I can compare mine sometimes to those two, just as being willing to step over the line, not necessarily the same story, but being willing to step over the line while telling a superhero story. And that's where I'm like, I'm right on that league to be
I mean, have you seen Happy? Have you seen Happy? The 2 seasons of Happy they did. By,
not.
by, by, oh
I think
my God, so good,
that just
so
ruined it
edgy.
for you.
No, you didn't ruin anything. Happy, no. Like Happy the comic. It was a comic. It was like 5 issues. I think by Grant Morrison. I forget the artist on it. Brilliant book, amazing book. Nobody heard about it, and then it had 2 seasons. I think 20 episodes, and it was so comic book filmed. The style of it was amazing. And the reason why I say is that it was shot like in weird colors. You had all these eccentric characters, and you had it like it was like uncensored. It was like at 10 o'clock at night on Sci-Fi, and it was amazing. And the whole thing, every Thursday night that I came on, I'm like, I'm watching it,
Yeah.
and because it was shot in such a way that I felt like I was watching a comic book. And I think
And
maybe
that's cool. I mean, when you can finally have your comic book brought to where visual you get all those visuals, because that's one of the things that me and my interior artist go back and forth with is that sometimes I'll rewrite the script because I like the way that his art gave the story. I'm like, I don't even need to say as much. And sometimes it'll be vice versa where I'm like, okay, let me add in this little touch to play to what he just said or what he just drew. And I'll write a little bit more. And so we play that back and forth because we can't give in TV and movies that one of the things they have that we don't have is a score, and a score can make or break it. Think of Guardians of the Galaxy. Oh my gosh, that music was phenomenal, and it hit just right every time it needed to. Okay, James Gunn knew what he was doing. I don't have that. I don't have that as an option. And so I have to find new ways to keep it interesting through every page, where I don't get the sound effects. I don't get the score, the different songs and everything. So, I mean, who can't watch Trolls Band Together just every night before bed? So that's that soundtrack's amazing. Let's go.
So to even go further, and obviously, I mean, you got the Kickstarter going on, but then you do a bunch of other stuff that's also interesting that I like too about your whole company, where you're not dependent on Kickstarter, and I think this is something that actually fascinates me.
No, that's the Kickstarter really is for the true readers and the true collectors of my brand of Steve Streetman, of Stupid Little Monkey, of the Flawless Universe. But I do so. Not only do I do cosplay covers, but I do them as collections and allow for people to collect them in different ways too. They're series, and so they can go collect the base set series, the Inferno series, the Royal series as they come out, and it's kind of fun, kind of like collecting Pokemon. I'm a Pokemon collector too, and it's like my wife has the Umbreon from the base set collection, and I'm like, you son of a bitch, come on. And I'm like, we could sell that for $1,000 or 10 grand or whatever, or something like that. She's like, no, not many people could say they have it and in a good condition. So
let's actually dive into this a little bit too, because obviously I think people forget that this is a business, right?
Sure.
And you and I both know that there's a bunch of people, and people hate me, and I get shit for this. I run an eBay business, and I get to play with a lot of toys, and it's fun when you have 1-of-1s and you have 5-of-5s and you have rare books, but it's also a business. Yeah. And I think people forget that comics are a tricky business. I don't think we're going to disagree on that, where you're producing something, and whenever you're outlaying money, you're producing something, you're printing a book, it is complicated. And if it doesn't move, you're stuck with merch. How do you reduce your merch? Also, do you have enough debt to handle it? And for me, my business is a side hustle. It's a lucrative side hustle, so I'm not dependent on that income. But at the same time, it could still stressful. So, but what you do, and you do whatnot, which is live sales, and then you also have a web store, and you do a lot of covers for your web store. And I think, what is it, every 2 weeks you're adding stuff in there? Every 2 weeks, right? Isn't it?
I'm doing. I mean, it really just depends. It's supposed to be more often than that, but I literally, with me doing so many different things, because I spend so much of my day just with my artists for one, and then I'm with my print shop after that, and my art studio after that. Then I go over and work on the website. Okay, it's like with my remaining time when I'm not live on Whatnot. So we do have covers coming out often. But they don't always even make it to the website. Sometimes they if you didn't get it on Whatnot, you don't get it. Like that does happen because I'm the guy that not only writes, but then I have to do the website, and then I have to do everything is the distribution. And Ashley is the supreme deity of all things monkey. She does all that. Without her, it wouldn't work.
Because you know why I'm asking this, because I think a lot of people say, oh, Kickstarter's the be all end all, and then I'm going to do cons. And I'm like, wait a second, don't you want to be on eBay? Don't you want to be on Whatnot? Don't you want to be on eBay Live? Don't you want to be on Facebook Marketplace? Like, I don't want to do cons. People, I've been criticized saying you don't do a con selling your comics. And I'm like, yeah, because I want to sell my books in Australia, and I could do that through eBay. And my whole argument is that why would I want to be in a box when I could sell globally on the internet? Wow. Or, in Whatnot, you could sell across the United States. Yeah, I think you can limit your sales to a particular country. I'm not on Whatnot, so I'm not an expert there. But the idea is that
I have people all the way from Australia, Europe buy from me, Canada come and buy from me.
You get where I'm going with this, where it's if you're selling and you're running a business, you want to be global. And so I think that's what's so interesting is that you have stuff on Whatnot, you have stuff, and I think that's what people sometimes miss in comics is that.
So, and I think, you're actually reaching a little bit closer to where the conversation you and I are going to have in 3 months from now. But as far as global goes, I'm leaving the country on March 1st, and we will be gone until the 18th because we are going to work on some stuff in Japan. So there could be more than just your English speaking market as we continue to move forward. So
but you get because I'm going to table that. I don't want to push it too hard.
but to come back to right now, like we take a lot of risk by doing print runs of like 5, print runs of 1, print runs of 10, and it could turn out really badly. But we know that we're building a value behind it. And so even though artists are really expensive, print is really expensive, shipping supplies, you do eBay, you understand how much a shipping supply, if you're shipping out something nice with the right, with your bubble wrap and everything, shipping top loaders, like people who are spending.
I don't use top loaders.
So that's actually one of the things that we do on a regular basis. Not everything, but most things do get top loaders. And the reason, and what, that's like $3. Like a top loader is $3, okay? But we put our books into those when we ship them out because it's just an extra thing that we want to show that this is valuable to us. So even though I
take a different approach. I use a lot of bubble wrap and I use a lot of bubble envelopes. So what I find is, and I've never had an issue where I use Geminis with bubble wrap, and it works bags and boards and bubble wrap because it's really protected. But I use a lot of bubble wrap. I go to Staples, buy that big thing, and then before I do it, I play with it for like an hour because it's a big ball and you can do flips over it. It's so much fun. I'm a big kid, everybody.
We're all kids. It's okay. We're all kids here.
And then your dog is looking at you funny, and she wants to play with it. It's great.
Yeah, we're kids with adult money now. Okay, so things get reckless.
So my point though is that I agree that shipping is expensive, but what kills me and what's really expensive is when you're shipping out a $300 item, the insurance on that, because I buy $500 or $600 worth of insurance. That's what kills me. But it's just it's a cost of doing business. I'm not angry about it, but it's like another $12, $15.
We pay for a lot of things that because I bought from dozens of these other companies and had them ship me stuff. and I've seen how it opens up. And I'm not saying the way they do it is right and the way we do it is wrong, or vice versa, really. But what I am saying is that whenever you open ours up, the goal is when you open it up, you see the value as you're like, holy shit, there's bubble wrap. Holy shit, there's a top. Holy shit, there's bonus stickers in here. It's just like all those little things add up. What are we doing right now? We're doing, we've been throwing in, what are they? Trading cards. And we just did one first edition trading cards and mini prints that we've been throwing into the like, and it's just like, that's free stuff that we put in there. People may forget about it. It might not mean anything to 9 out of 10 people, but 1 out of those 10 people is going to be like, wow, they took their time with this, And
so it's interesting because what I try to explain to people on Kickstarter, and I make this argument, and I'm like 1 out of like 30, which is not a good number, and it's shameful. But I try to explain to people, hey, do you have stickers from your Kickstarter that are done that you want to include in my order? And do you have a flyer of a QR code that you want to include on my eBay orders? And I'm not charging anybody who wants to send me free stuff to throw in my orders. But my friend Preston, who's a sponsor of the show, he gave me 50 free copies of his book, QR codes. And well, you know what happens? Guess what? People get a free book in there of, number 4 of White Lily, which is a really cool book. It's about a Russian fighter pilot team, female fighter pilot team. It's awesome. It's based on a true story. It's crazy. But the point is that if you open that up and you're like, wait a second, what is this book? And then there's a QR code that brings you to his email list. He's obviously getting conversion, and he's tapping an audience that isn't there. And I don't think people have a real understanding of business, where if you sent me a QR code that said, hey, sign up for my email list, you'll get a 6-page free PDF copy of what's coming out inside a package, you'd be surprised. People might scan it immediately on their phone because people have their phones around. Right. And they want to be up to date. And you might be able to convert on an email list very quickly that way.
Yeah, and there are already people who enjoyed your comic once because you're shipping them something, obviously. And so the opportunity is there for sure. So one thing that we also do too is we write personal notes to people. I don't know if you've personally gotten any, because I think I've actually just messaged you anytime I've had anything personal to tell you. But if there's anything we want to tell that customer, we'll write it down, or we'll type it out and print it and put it in there. Hey, we know you really like this comic, but you weren't able to get it. We threw it in there for today, or whatever. So we'll do things like that.
It's interesting because I don't think people have a real understanding of their customers. I don't know what you do in your business, but you have databases of your customers. On eBay, I have about a top 30 customer list. And I don't know them personally, like, oh man, you just had a baby. I don't know that. But I'm like, cool, you order only Star Wars books. So I have it in my database with these customers that, oh man, this person orders Star Wars books. They order Star Wars parody, everything Star Wars. So if I know I have something and I didn't list it yet, I might shoot the person messaging, hey, I just got this in. It's not listed. It's yours if you want it. Yeah. And I said, look, I'm going to list it for 65, but I'll do it for 55 because it's costing me 20, right? So I'm not going to get greedy if they want it. But I know that they wanted to say, no, I'm good right now, or I just got it. I'm like, perfect. I just want to give you first dibs. And that database becomes very efficient. So he's like, I don't have that book. Oh my God, I want this book now. And there you go. And I think,
we started the publishing company because we wanted better customer service. So we actually, when we first began this, we were redecorating our house. Okay. I don't know about that. We were redecorating our house, and we had extra comic books left over, and we had the ability to go and sell those. Okay. And we resold them, and we made a little bit of cash on it. We're like, that's kind of cool. Okay. So, and this is on Whatnot, by the way. So you can find this right there. Stupid Little Monkey on Whatnot. Steve Streetman on Kickstarter. Selfish plug. All right, let's go. But we were selling we literally wanted to do our house with comic books. Every single wall with comic books. And so we bought 400 comic books to fill our apartment. Okay, because we're talking wall to wall. We paid $1 for them, and then the ones that we didn't use, we went and sold, and we put them up for $1 on the auction, and they sold for like $5, and they sold for like $10. Okay, so then with that money, we went and bought $5 comics and $10 comics, and then we put those up, and then they sold for 15 and 20, and we just kept repeating that until we got to the point that our demand was way higher than our supply. And we tried to work with a lot of publishing companies to get us high quality product where it's not coming in with nicks on it, dings on it, ticks on it, bad corners and things like that. Okay. And for it to get to us quick enough. Okay. So, those were pretty much the qualifications. We weren't asking for much more. We're like, if you could get it to us, in a timely manner, and you can get it to us, and it's still in good condition, then we're great. We couldn't get that to happen faster than we were selling stuff, and so we're like, okay, I've got a background in writing. It's time. Let's put all the pieces together, because originally we were trying to figure out how I was going to take what I had come up with in 2021 and convert that into this. And I was like, okay, it's just got to be a full comic book. It's not going to be, we're not going to meet with someone else and join them. We're not going to, do this like art thing. We're just going to make it a full comic book. So, at some point, maybe we'll go over like the 12 ideas that led to this one idea that started in 2021 and landed here. But
so there's a lot to break down here. So obviously, I mean, I have a pretty complicated issue. So in my business, and full disclosure, I have an issue of merch getting to me quick enough. I have ordered stuff from 6 months ago that I'm still waiting on, and it's beyond frustrating. And some of it's sold, and it's annoying because my customer's pissed and I'm pissed, and they know I'm pissed more than they are.
yeah,
And it happens, but people understand that nobody has it. I've had people cancel orders for $90, $100, and then the merch is still good, but it's going to take a while to find a home.
yeah. Well, let me go on record and say my first Kickstarter got out to everybody in 2 months. My second Kickstarter got out to everybody in 2 months.
I'm not even talking about Kickstarter. I'm talking just about companies in general. I mean,
yeah, but Kickstarters are usually the thing that takes the longest. And we're dedicated towards getting that stuff. If you order from us on Whatnot, it's leaving that same day or the next day, okay? Unless it's like a Friday or Saturday. We gotta wait till Monday. But like we believe in customer service and getting people their shit, so
yeah, no, I'm really bad. I'm usually like a weekend shipper on eBay. I can't. No, but I work a 40-hour work week. That's the problem.
Yes, you do.
When you work a 40-hour work week and you're commuting 2 days in, it's very, very hard to ship things out the next day. I pack up things usually Friday night and I ship them out Saturday morning, which is still pretty good. So if you order something on Monday, I think 4 days is not horrendous. Which is, but some people agree, some people disagree. But I digress there.
But people like their stuff quick, and that's why like I talk about. I'll talk about my bag real quick. You talked about yours. Okay, on our website, our stuff does not get out nearly as quick. Distribution comes from the print shop on the website. Okay, that's not on the Kickstarter we manage that, and then on Whatnot we manage that. But Whatnot, our website is managed differently, and it's just because it's hard to wear so many hats, and so that typically takes about 3 weeks to get to people whenever they order on the website. We have a big banner on the top that says when things are going to start going out for that as well. So, but we're honest about it. So if people, if they see, oh, well, I'm not going to be able to get it till then, I don't want to order it. Well, they know, and do we lose money because they didn't order it? Yes, but we're keeping an honest business too. So it's like, this is going to take longer than, other stuff.
So I want to break something down though, because one of my issues is that I try to go to companies. I'm like, look, I want to buy 15 of your books. Mm-hmm. Is there a way that we could work this out? Because I'm about to spend $500 with you. Is there a way that we can work this out? I want to buy 25 of your books. And some people will talk to you, some people won't. Some people are very reasonable. But I'm like, and look, some people are open to wholesale, some aren't. Mm-hmm. And it's a very complicated thing because obviously I want to get my prices down. Because the cheaper I get an item for an eBay, the cheaper I could pass those costs on and make some money. And that's the whole thing for me. And I've dealt with a bunch of people where some people get it and some people don't. Some people hate the fact that I'm buying your book for X amount of money and then I'm selling it for 40 and you're running a Kickstarter and they feel like I'm screwing them. I've dealt with those people and I think it's a very backwards thought process. I'm taking 25 books off of your hand and taking a risk. I would like a little bit of a discount because I'm buying in bulk. And if I make $100 per book, you just took out, if you did 100 per one, I just took out a quarter of your books in a pre-sale.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a very complex thing whenever it comes to publishers to decide what to do with wholesale. We haven't taken on anybody for wholesale. One, because we wanted to make sure we built up the value of the comic book before we brought on any wholesalers. And so that's one of those things that like me and Ashley have had that conversation. And not only is it not just about reducing the price, but we want the people who we're doing wholesale with to represent the brand properly. And that's been our biggest.
It's also complicated. I'm looking, and I haven't told anybody this, I'm looking at the Do You Poo Counterpoint Press. I don't know if I could even qualify for a retail position, but they have certain requirements for retail where they have an MSRP value that you can't sell below. And that's interesting. And that raises questions for me because it's like, what happens if I have 150 books and they're not moving? Like, I should be able, after a certain point, say, look, this was a bad idea and I need to be able to move books. And if I can't sell a book for less than 25, like if I reach out to them, I'm like, look, after 2 years, if this book isn't moving, guys, we got to give me some leniency here. Meaning that I
had a similar deal with that whenever I was in retail, whenever when we were reselling books, and I couldn't sell below a certain amount. And you know what it did for me though? It forced me to find more value behind that comic book. Now, does it suck if you buy too many of them and you got them sitting? Yeah, 100%. But what I did, I was like, okay, let me find out more about this artist. Let me find, and I was like, let me find out more about this print run. And I did a lot of research that not everybody did. And I think that's why a lot more people came to me and were willing to spend, because I was able to explain to them, like, this is that value, And so, but yeah, having that price tag that you can't go below it, I can understand from a retail standpoint. It's like, whoa, I just got 50 of these copies. Like, what am I going to do with number 35 through 50?
So I'm not worried about it in year one. I'm worried about it in year 3.
Yeah.
And also the difference is that, and this is my question, is that what if if I pick up 50 of these, 25 virgins, 15 foils, and 5 lava foils, and somebody wants a whole deal, like, I got to be able to give them a break on $10.
If you're doing a bundle's a different world completely. And so, like I say, that's something, you're not talking about MSRP anymore. You're talking about a bundle for somebody. So that's a whole nother thing. If you need to sell that for less, you sell it for less because it's a bundle.
Maybe I don't know.
They're willing to get quantity, and so it's almost like a secondary opportunity for retail. But I can tell you from our standpoint, because we're our retailers for for our own publishing company. Okay, we're the only people who are the actual retailers, and what we do with the books, and this is what I've seen that does not happen often. We eat it. Whenever we have a book that comes out, I always love to like dig on Cammy. Cammy came out in the base set, and Cammy did terrible. And I don't think it was because Cammy was a bad cover. I think it was because it came out at the same time as Yoko, and everybody saw Yoko and was like, they didn't even look at Cammy. They're like, give me that Yoko cover. And they all fought over it. It was wild. But at the end of the day, we had the option. We could sell Cammy for less, or we could just keep her. And we chose to keep her, but that's a different story, because I, as a publisher, want to make sure that cover still has its value one day. And so if I go and just put it up for $1 or cut the price in half, that comic is not going to have the value for my collectors. And so I'm doing a disservice to my collectors by selling it for less.
This is interesting because sometimes I'll reduce my price, but also what's happened to me is that I sell a lot of Mount Olympus books, right? So what winds up happening is that somebody has a book for 50, I match what it's selling for. I have no choice but to match. And I took that from Kevin O'Leary. Is on Shark Tank. He's like, Mark Cuban's offering 5%, I'll offer 5% too. And I have no choice. Either I can compete. In order for me to compete, I have to offer the same deal. And I would like more, but I want in on this deal. And so sometimes what I'll do is that I'll offer a comparable price. And it sucks because I'm making less money. And also what I figured out, and then I have a bunch of One Piece stuff coming in from Mount Olympus in a week, 45 books. Those Namis, they're going to be hot. I know exactly the price point on those books. I know their base cost, and I know exactly what my competitors are going to do, and I'm going to beat them out at their own game.
Yeah.
Tuesday night, I'm going to beat them out at their own game, and it's going to be very interesting. And I'm going to be listing like 30 books very quickly. And it's not going to be a flash sale, but those books are going to be trading way below
Just
that.
like Mr. Wonderful would say, that's business, baby. You gotta do it the way that makes sense. Because at the end of the day, if you don't do it the way that makes sense for your business, guess what happens? You don't have a business anymore. Your business is over with. You're shutting down. It's bankrupt.
I'll let you judge it. So the base cost on the One Piece books in that bundle is $21.43. If the average sale of that before eBay takes out all their fees is $62, that's a good trade. That's a great trade out, especially if you're holding that merch for 2 weeks. Yeah. That's an unbelievable trade. Now, would I like to make $72 a book on average? Of course. But at the same time, if I'm holding merch for 2 weeks and I'm legitimately pulling in $1,800 in 2 weeks on 30 or 35 books, that's a no-brainer. Where could I make more if I hold it out a little bit, wait for the market to come down, find the right buyer? Of course. But if I'm moving that merch out like crazy, and I spent 900 and I made 18 and I get to keep 15 for myself, it's not a bad trade.
Yeah, that's a good break, between what you paid versus what you're making. And at the end of the day, like you're not going to see me judge anybody's business by them marking it too high, marking it too low, whatever they need to do. That's just the difference is what I would do versus what they would do might be two different things. But I think everybody needs to do what's best for their business, because at the end of the day, there is no business if you don't do it the right way.
The reason why I bring this up is that that's what everybody's going to do who has these 15 bundles. That is what happens with these 15 bundles is the price goes from 50 to about 75, and depending on the book. So a limited 15 print run is going to be a little bit higher than a limited 50 in Mount Olympus, but that's how these bundles get broken up, and I have no choice but to compete. And so because I have no choice, if I want to move it and sell it quickly and move this merch and get in and out, that's just the way it breaks. And I'm fine with that because the base cost is dirt cheap for what they're worth. It's the idea that if the base cost was $30 and that's how it was playing out, I probably would pass on the deal. And that's what I think people don't understand is that, and I'm sure you understand your base costs. You have to understand your base costs. That's why you're selling what you're selling. And,
we have more increment, more technical things because we have to pay for like things outside of just the book, the artists that we're working with, the amount of time that we spend, we have to pay for the electric to stay home to run it. But yeah, I 100% get what you're saying. And the thing is, it's tough whenever it comes to competitors that are willing to take a loss on a book. And then you're trying to compete with that. It's like, then what do you do in that standpoint where it's like, do you just sit out until they're finished with their load? And then you're like, okay, now that's over.
So let me ask you about that, because every company has a sale at some point, but having a sale and taking a loss, I think, are different. So
I'll chime in real quick, is that we may have had our very last sale a couple months ago. What was that, last month? we may not be having sales going forward. And there's a technical thing that I can go into with you that'll talk about like what we're going to be doing instead. It's a new program that we're rolling out.
You're not going to do Black Friday and Cyber Monday anymore? I love Black Friday and Cyber Monday.
Black Friday, Cyber Monday, 50% off. You know how many people have emailed me and said, you know what? I'm just going to wait for another big sale like that to come around. And you know what that told me? We're not having another sale. If you're going to wait to get these great books, to get these books that are limited to 5 that aren't even going to be there, because you're going to wait for the Cyber Monday 50% off.
See,
so I'm building my website. One of the reasons that it's going through a lot of changes is because we put auctions on it. You couldn't do that before. Nobody has auctions on their website. Okay, they're currently down right now because we're leaving for Japan on March 1st, and I can't manage it all while I'm away, because we have to get it all out to people after they win their auctions. So we pulled that down, but we've got auctions on there. We've got a VIP center. We're going to have monkey bucks on there. Okay. So they're going to be able to earn books at a better rate. Okay. All that stuff's going to be built in. There's some secrets. Okay. Everybody go steal it real quick while you can, but you won't be able to, because we're working on an integration faster than anybody else to get these things accomplished. And we're willing to try things that other people aren't, knowing that the money, it costs a lot to do it.
I want to challenge you on sales, and here's what I want to challenge you on sales. Right? What I would do if it was my position is that I would challenge. So I'm probably going to do it right now. So if the Chiefs lost, I would have had a 10% sale on Taylor Swift to make everybody feel better for like 3 days in my eBay store. But again, it's only 10%, but then it would have went right back up.
That's hilarious. Yeah.
What I like that companies sometimes do is that, great, it's Valentine's Day. They are selling a package normally for $200. They'll take $30 off of it. So that like, and a bunch of companies sometimes do that, but it's only for like a day, right? Yeah. It's in an email. So I don't think 50% is necessarily a mass. It's a pretty big discount. And also I did that, and I was saying, look, I want to buy these books and I'm willing to try it, and I'll take, 50% off, right? It makes sense, right? And but what I would do instead is I would shoot out an email saying free shipping for the next day on all orders, because that's a different type of sale too.
Well, free shipping has been available on our website since day one. I
thought it was for orders over 100.
No, that's what it said at the top. But when you went to ring out, everybody got it.
But there's different ways how to do something, or better.
That wasn't marketing. That was just because I set up the site incorrectly. Everybody got free shipping for 6 months straight. Ashley is like, how come these, because she's the one who ships all this stuff out. She's like, what's that going on here? And I'm like, I'll be right back.
Because my theory on sales is that sometimes at a certain point, so if you have 50 of those camis and 5 years left over, you got to move. You got to say, this was a bad cover. We're just going to move it out and 50% off. But you don't have to do the whole website, right? After 5 years.
We won't do it. We won't do it.
You can write your business. I'm just saying that at a certain point.
Cami is a perfect example. That we actually wound up selling those for full price over the next 8 months after releasing it. But we knew that if we didn't, that we were going to eat it, because they just never got sold.
Maybe it's because I'm so used to it. Maybe it's because I'm an investor and I love playing the stock market.
You want the deal. Of course you want the deal.
No, let me finish
and be like, hey, I got these camis.
That's my point. So I bought a company called CRISPR, and I thought CRISPR was genetic gene manipulation. Cool company. It's the future. Yeah. But the stock went down from a G, because I put $1,000 in, down to $500. And then I had a really big winner with Activision. So I sold my loser, which offset my winner. And sometimes in life, you just pick a loser and it happens. You hope you don't pick too many of them, and you just take it behind the barn, you shoot it, and you move on. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like ripping off a Band-Aid, right? So I'm a strong believer that sometimes if I make a bad decision in my eBay business, I just want to get in and out of that trade and redeploy my capital to a winner. And maybe it's just my thought process. And instead of eating it and it not moving, I'm just like, cool. I'm just going to get rid of this, redeploy the capital. And I know a bunch of good winners that are going to work because I have a bunch of Pop Funkos, and my bunch of Pop Funkos, some of them are done really well, but a bunch of them are losers. So I'm just sold the losers. I took a loss on it, and then I redeployed the capital.
So, all right. So I'm going to flip it on you then. Okay. Because we're going. So because you're the eBay guy. Okay. So you're selling the Cami comic for $45 now on eBay. I'm selling it on my Whatnot for $3. Where are they going?
Well. This
You
is
want me selling it for $3 after you own 20 copies?
so technically.
You pay $20 to get them.
You're going to answer.
$20 to get them. All right. No.
I would like to respond. Can I respond? This is fun. This is fun. So what I want, and this is just me, naturally, I don't want you to sell it for $3, right? Off the top necessarily, but I want you to get rid of all your copies as fast as humanly possible. So the worst thing for you and for me,
because you're scared I'm going to put them up later on for a discount.
No. Hear me out. The best circumstance for me is if I bought 20 copies of that Cami and that thing sold out from you like hotcakes, right? That is the best circumstance for me. You're going to say, why though? A bunch of people just bought 130 copies from Steve. But Andrew, that means that there's 130 less people that are going to buy from you. And I'm like, but you're wrong, because now they can only buy the last 20 from me unless somebody else bought a bunch of them. And then Steve's like, I don't have any left. So I want you to get rid of all your books as fast as humanly possible. Yeah, I really do, because then if I have 10 of them.
Well, I can go on record to say that we typically do. So, and even the Cami is like, we have next to nothing left of that over all areas.
Going with this, right? Because the best thing where the value for me is when you sell out of a book and now it's on the secondary market, because now I have a chance to make more money. And because if you still have it and I still have it, and I'm asking for 45, and
but if I go and sell them for $3 on Whatnot, and I sell it to 10 different people, and they all pick up multiple copies, 9 of those people are going to be your competitors trying to put the same Cami up there.
And that's just the risk I take. So I already have that problem. That problem for me already exists.
But if I make sure that not one of those people gets it for less than $20, guess what they're going to start it at? They're going to start it for way higher than 20. So then you win and they win, because now everybody's selling it for a higher value where it should be. So I'm not going to.
I get your argument. I just shoot my losers and I move on after a set amount of time. I'm not going to go and shoot.
Yeah, but that's the difference. You should. You're a retailer. Like, I'm a publisher. I want to build value. Like, I want people to look back and be like, holy shit, that Wonder Woman went for $500, and it did. Go look it up. I didn't sell it. It was somebody who bought it from me. They wouldn't resell it for $500, and they're gonna be like, what is that? And so that's gonna make a trickle effect to everything else that's a part of this company.
No.
Will I see all that value come back to me? Not physically, but it'll bring more attention to my brand.
It's interesting because, but at the same time, I mean, if you start something at Whatnot and it sells for 20 and nobody's looking at it, I mean, my whole thing is that when I buy some, because this is just what happened with Tidal Wave, right? I bought some Taylor Swift stuff and I paid 45 or something. And then they did a combo for Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce and the Virgin covers. And I was like, I guess, I made a $5 bad play because I could have bought 3. I could have saved myself $15, but that's just the risk I run because these books could have sold out. And so I just said, I play in this space and sometimes I win and sometimes I lose. But in the reality, I'm going to make money either way, where $5 on those books, the value is way beyond that. But would I've liked to save myself $15? Sure. But I get it. Sometimes I win and sometimes I lose. And I understand that. What bothers me is that I buy it on day 1 and then it drops down by 50% on day 2. So I think after, like Zenoscope does this well, like after a year, if they reduce a book's price by 50% because they just want to get rid of their stock, I'm like, well, it could have sold out before then, and books have. And so you run the risk, but I kind of figure out what's going to sell, what's not. I don't fuck around with Star Wars and Zenescope because you have to buy that stuff because that stuff will sell out. But
Yeah.
Valentine's Day, not so much. St. Patrick's Day, not so much. If Sun Kuminaki is doing Easter, you better buy that Easter book.
Well, it's Sun Kaminaki. So yeah, that's. I mean, you're never. When is the last time Sun Kaminaki put out a loser? You know, it's not. It doesn't happen
That's
often.
not true. There's been a few. There's been a few.
But there's way more winners than losers. And, you know, how's the saying go? And Wolf of Wall Street, you know, that's what they judge me by. So,
Yes.
I'm a Sun Kaminaki collector. Again, you know, that's my piece is like.
It was technically her first interview as well, technically.
Sun Kaminaki, call me, please. I really want to cover.
She's busy. She's busy. Keith Garvey's busy.
She's got her own Kickstarter out right now, right? Pumpkin, isn't that hers?
I've tried to do it. She owes me a favor on a lot of things, but I digress. It's fine. I'm not worrying too much. Where I'll be honest, I'm looking for the next big thing. I'm looking for.
I would say, and I'm glad you said it exactly right. A lot of people play it way too safe. Okay, and I completely understand wanting to get a comic book for the lowest price to then sell and then want to unload it. But sometimes taking the risk of buying the big one, we did that because we got lucky. Okay, this isn't like I'm like a genius. I bought the Ultimate Fallout 4 Miles Morales, first appearance of Miles Morales. Okay, I bought them for like $600 a pop. I bought 20 of them, and I flipped them all for 900. Okay, that was when we went from selling $1 comics for 5 to 10, and then $10 comics for 10 to 20, and then we kept going up, and then we got a chance to get our hands on these, and we did it, and it was the best investment we ever made in our lives because that is what really kickstarted us being able to make some changes with the company. But it was because we took the chance with something big to make it even bigger.
So let's actually talk about this because obviously I play in equities in the stock market, and it's going to make sense in about 3 seconds. So I have base positions in my portfolio, something like a Coca-Cola, something like an Apple. But then you have some weird stuff in your portfolio, like a Gain, or you have something like a Texas Roadhouse, or like an L Brands, which became Victoria's Secret and Bath and Body Works that they spun out of. I have some Lionsgate in there. And people think I'm crazy. I bought Netflix.
I used to work for them.
What did you say?
So I used to work for them. Anyways.
But my point is that I bought Netflix when it was $227. I think it's like $580 now. So the point is that I build bases and then I also take risk because you need to take risk to have real growth. You can't just you can't.
What do you think is a bigger risk, the stock market or comic books?
I actually think comic books. And I'll explain why.
Okay.
Comic books is just a smaller institutional money wise. Institutional money is huge. We're talking about trillions and trillions of dollars globally. So it's much. I'm trying to figure out how to put this. I would make an argument that I don't actually know what the value of the S&P 500. This is a good question. Actually, I should know it, which means that I don't know all my investment. But there's trillions and trillions of dollars controlled by Fidelity and Vanguard in the United States. There's not trillions and trillions of dollars in comics. There's billions.
What was that word?
Trillion.
You said controlled?
Yes, like under
control. That's the perfect thing. I think comic books are a way better investment than anything else. This is my opinion. Not any type of investment advice, but I think you can make you can make $500,000 in a year on comic books, and you won't make a couple million over a lifetime with stocks.
That's true. That's not true at all. That's no. So it depends what you're buying, right? So I'll throw you a crazy position.
So I've been in stocks. I've been in the Bitcoin, and I've been in the crypto, and I've been in and purchased other businesses. And
let me ask a question, okay? Let me ask a question. So, like anything else, right? We're actually, I don't think we're properly evaluating this. people can lose money in comics and people can lose money in stocks the same way.
Sure.
There's a lot of people who suck at this. Okay. You and I both know that. Is that a fair assessment?
100%.
So you and me are more alike in which that we know how to run a business. We know what a base cost is for a book. We also have a feel for something that could work, right? So when you see a cover, you have an idea. When you did, I'll throw up a cover right now because I like this cover. This cover right here, you have a feel on what that cover is going to do, right? You have an idea of it, right?
It did way better than I felt it would do.
Okay. So
that thing was insane, and I did not expect it. So,
but you get where I'm going with this,
yeah.
right? So I have a feel when I go say that cover, it creates an emotion. I know if I feel something, somebody else is going to feel something.
But you said it though. When there's an emotional connection to it, just like the Avengers, we'll go back to that. When there's an emotional connection to it, there's more opportunity for money to flow. Okay, so that there's three reasons that money typically switches between hands, and it has nothing to do with big wigs moving money around in the stock market. There's three reasons money moves. Okay, I'm gonna teach the investor something real quick. You probably know everything else, but I know these three. There's three things that make money move. Okay, kids, pets, animals, and women. Okay. It's one of those three is making it move, okay? Either it's because you're trying to find a woman, you're trying to please your wife, or you just want to look at women, okay? One of those three, there's women involved, okay? There's a pet in the ad that makes you want to go buy that cool object or whatever it is, okay? You got the cheetah print in the back, the back of your wall, okay? So you have to have
you love your dog.
Or there's kids. You got to pay for your kids, or there's a cute kid that like makes you want to look at whatever is going on with the ad that's up. It's always those three. I learned that in marketing in 2004. Okay, those are the three reasons.
So the reason why I say this, right, is because people have 401ks if you're lucky. So that if you know how to max out your 401k, and a lot of people max out their 401k because they're like, I need to save for retirement and my company is going to give me a match. They're going to help me out. I have a 401k. It's great. It's in the S&P 500 and I don't touch it. And I know exactly what it's doing and it's behaving. So that's controlled by Fidelity and they have a lot of money under management. That doesn't mean it's their money. It's just they're managing a lot of money. And so they can go and in an S&P 500 fund, they have a lot of leverage. If they want to move things around in an S&P 500 fund because it copies the top 500 stocks with a few changes here and there. And then there's a bunch of pension funds like teachers, and they have a lot of leverage. So
let me ask, I got to cut you off because I got to know.
Feel free to cut me off. You can cut me off. You don't have to apologize. Just
what are you doing with that money?
What do you mean? What do you mean? In my Fidelity account, like in my 401k?
What have you bought lately?
So in my 401k, it's just an S&P 500 index fund with Vanguard. So
how much are we talking is sitting there?
In my retirement account, it's $230 every 2 weeks, just like clockwork. So there's probably about 10K, but I've only been working for like a year and a half.
Do you think that they can do more with 10K than you can? That's like you don't believe.
So I'll explain. It's not just my 10K. They have a lot of people's 10K. So they manage, I think, anywhere from.
Okay, wait. This is coming from your work, though.
So this is
right? This is from your business. The company that you work for. Yes. You're putting. Okay, that's a completely different story. I always do those too. If I'm with a company and they're putting money in.
So the reason why I say that I think stocks and things like that is that you have institutional money that is like 30 to 40 trillion dollars. So there's no way on a institutional level comics can compete. On an individual level, I can see somebody making more money in a year selling comics and running a comic business than an institutional level. But once you have institutional levels, the money number is just insurmountable, in which you cannot compete against 40, 50, 60 trillion dollars. It just doesn't work.
But you're never going to see that money. I always bet on myself is what I'm going with. Okay. And I get if you're with a business, you're going to put into your 401k. I did the same thing. I just remembered I probably have 10 or 20,000 sitting in one of those right now, and I forgot about it. I should probably go get that and use it for a trip to fucking London. You said the bars were great there, because I don't care to leave it in there. Like I'm gonna use every dollar I've got and reinvest it until because it was me playing it safe is what made me have to start my life over 5 years ago.
For me, I agree in which I take risks, right? But I also understand that. I mean, I did really well on Netflix, and so I think it's just an idea of understanding what you're investing in. Because again, if you knew to buy Ultimate Fallout 4, I know somebody who bought 100 copies of that book at $4 when it first came out, and then they sold them for $500 a piece. But remember, they had an idea. They said, "Look, for $400, I'll go to Midtown Comics and I'll just buy 100 copies and I'll take a $400 risk." And they paid for both of their kids' college, right? So they had a sense that, hey, this is a new character. It's a Black Spider-Man, and it's a new generation. I'll take the risk. And cool, $400 risk, right? It's not a huge risk. But all of a sudden, $500 a pop, and you got 100 copies. It's a lot of money.
So I think about quality of life, though, whenever it comes to my money. And so that's that. So sometimes the bank account means less to me than what am I doing tomorrow. So that's why I always ask, like, so what are you doing with it? Because it's like you've been to London, but you haven't went to see that cheetah yet. Are you missing out on seeing that cheetah because you got money sitting in your 401k?
I'll explain to you what I really enjoy in my life. I enjoy sitting with my friends in my house, drinking beer, watching Sunday football. And you know what it is? I enjoy going to local Comic Cons. I enjoy going to like local restaurants around my town. I enjoy reading a book on Sunday, right? So a lot of what I enjoy is I'm very much a house buddy type of guy. And also I treat myself to books that I want to buy and really cool comics. And so but I proportion it and also have a lot of dividend stocks. So I have a brokerage account and I have a lot of dividend stocks. And a lot of what I'm doing is that I'm just building that up, and then it just reinvests. And it's getting to the point where it is just buying me more and more shares. So I now need to pump less and less and less into it to be financially free, because I want to get to the point when I'm 40 or 45 that if I don't want to go to work, I don't have to. And I'm 31. So a lot of my, and then that's why I created my eBay business, is that I funnel a lot of money into those assets. I fund my retirement. I fund a Roth IRA, because that's what keeps me sane, is that because all of a sudden, if I say one year I want to go to London, I don't have to worry about funding my retirement anymore, because it's self-funding itself. It's getting to that point soon. And so that's where I'm at. So it's not that I'm playing it safe.
No. And you answered the question perfectly. The problem that I hear with too many people is that they're not doing what they want with their life because they're not controlling their lives properly. Most people have to be rich before they start saying the things like you say. Because once you've had it all is whenever you're like, you know what I just like doing is hanging out with my friends. And I was doing that back when I was broke, And
I'll be honest, I'm getting an item tomorrow or Thursday. And it sounds crazy. It's $100 item. And I feel really rich that I could buy $100. I bought 2 of them, actually. I'm a big baseball card collector. One of my most favorite enjoyable things as a kid and even as a 31-year-old is getting a Top Series 1 and just opening those packs by myself. Like, oh my God, I just pulled this card. And, it sounds weird, and it's $200. It's not a lot of money. And I thoroughly enjoy it, and I don't feel guilty that I'm able to buy a $200 hobby box and pull in about 500 cards.
And that's the point. That's the place where everybody needs to get to where their enjoyments in life don't make them feel guilty. And I've been there where I used to be like, oh my gosh, I really shouldn't, but I want to, and it's like, once I stopped doing that and just started figuring out how to make the money to get the things that I wanted, then it was like way different. Then now my collectible section is great. I mean, right here, you can't see, but it's on the other side. All my baby on my babies over
every
there.
every once in a while, I feel a little indulgent, and I realize, oh man, I crossed the line. I should have not bought that extra book there. But it's rare. It happens once or twice a year. But for the
Yeah.
most part, I don't feel guilty when I make purchases. Sometimes I feel nervous when I make a purchase, especially for my business. But that's a different position because I'm like, did I make the right call? And then, but I've been doing it so long that at this point, I was like, okay. And I'm sure you feel the same when you book a cover. I mean, you have to sometimes. Like this one, you might have felt a little nervous.
No.
But you know what I mean? Where
I'll tell you another secret. You talk about tabling the camis. I have art that I'm never going to use. I paid hundreds, thousands for some of these art pieces, and I want all my covers to feel like a winner, and so they're just going to sit.
let me ask you this. I mean, do you feel that that's just the cost of doing business where you say, look, you know what it is? It's not that the artist did a bad job. It just doesn't fit.
Yeah, it just doesn't fit. And again, I'll say that not just like it just not every piece fits into the flawless universe. And so they're gonna get tabled over to the side, and that's okay. And I lose money from that. But at the end of the day, people know, like I literally had I had somebody come to me and they said, hey, I can't make it to your show tomorrow, but I know you have a new release. You haven't shown what the cover looks like, but I want to buy it. I was like, I won't show it to you, but I will sell it to you. And you can come and then I'll show you, you'll see what it looks like when it gets to your house if you trust me. He said, I 100% trust you. He said, you always put out winners. He's like, just tell me the price. And so I was like, all right, here you go. And not only did he buy one copy, he bought 8 copies because there was variants to it. I was like, listen, there's a lot of variances. This one has more variants than any of my others. And he was like, well, I can't make it tomorrow and I want them. I was like, okay, here you go. It's $350. He's like, cool, let's go. And that's the feeling that I want to give the people that buy from me, to where it's sight unseen. I'm like, they're like, yes, it's gonna be a good one. So half the time they have no clue what they're coming into, and then they show up and I say, all right, here's the cover for tonight. And they're like, oh yeah, I'm glad I'm here. So
It's crazy.
yeah.
Again, I run a business a particular way, and it's taking care of me, so I'm very happy. It's a side hustle, so it's great. But no. But I do want to talk about this one right here. So I want to talk about the 101s because I think that's interesting. I wrote an article for somebody in their magazine, and I explained, and I told you off air, so this is not new. I'm gonna put it down before I drop it because I'll cry if it drops. I will really cry. It's safe, everybody. But what I
man, it's fine.
what I said to you off air, and I'll say it on air, and I don't, and hopefully you're not gonna get offended. I didn't ask if you were gonna be offended, but I'm gonna say it anyway. Is that you are still a brand new company, and when you have ones of ones in there or 5 of 5s, it is a risk for the consumer because if you guys knock it out of the park or you're growing every year and you build up a fan base, those early books are going to be worth a lot of money. This happened with Zenoscope. It kind of happened with Mount Olympus. There's some other companies that it tends to happen with. And obviously, you have low print runs on books. And even those 150s or 100 limited.
And I get it, we're working with people like Paul Green, Don Mattei, Jamie Tyndall, like amazing artists. Some of these artists are just like us too. They're brand new. Y'all have never seen them in the comic book industry. And it's a risk for not only us as a brand, as the Flawless Universe, but that artist as well. They could be blow up and be the next Sun Kamunaki, the next Shikari, the next J. Scott Campbell. But we don't know yet. We don't know that today.
So I mean, what is that like for you? Because obviously, if you pick up a 101 for $50 or $60 or $70, it is a little bit of a risk because the book is not known and the brand's not known, but it's also a super rare product. And it creates a very, very interesting, I guess, investor conundrum, for lack of a better word, because you have a company that is brand new at the beginning stage of what you guys are doing. You have a product that is one of a kind, and the upside is huge and the downside is minimal. And that's what's fascinating about those ones-to-ones. And it's not a diss to you. I think you recognize that too.
We also thought we were a little bit insane when we started doing the one of ones, because I mean that's an entire art piece that we could have done 150 count of and sold off every single copy for $30, and we chose not to. We decided to give that piece something special, and it's one of those things that's like people here on the ground level are coming into something fresh and new, just like you said, but it's something that's going to be around for a long time because we already have this plan mapped out. The story goes all the way to 2027. The bank account goes for further than that. We've already got everything planned out to where we've got covers. All right, so the story is to 2027, the bank account's to 2030 something, and the art is already mapped out. We already are working on art for 2024. Okay, no, sorry, 20. What year is it? 2025. We've got enough art that we could launch a cover every single day until February 13th next year and still have covers. Okay. Like we have done our investments on our side to make sure that this brand is something that continues and is something strong. And so people who are jumping into it here on the ground level, it's like, it's like getting your Netflix at the in the early stages whenever you're still going to get the DVD from the red box, and or your Netflix is mailing you your DVD at the time. It's like we've got so many different things that we're integrating, not onto the website, into the comic book itself, that is going to make this brand really set itself apart from what anyone else is doing. And so we're excited about that. We can't talk about it all just yet, but we're excited about it.
No, I feel you. I understand it. And investing is complicated in your company. Expansion's complicated. Expansion can be messy. It could be breaking. And I learned that the hard way this year. I learned that the hard way. And I didn't have infrastructure for what I was doing. So God help me. Very, very complicated when you don't have infrastructure. I did not expect to do what I did this year. And clearly I was not ready for it. I expected to do about 40% less than what I did. And so yeah, definitely my hair's grayer for it. But I digress.
It's no, it's figuring out those the different pieces to a business can be very difficult. And so I mean, this is something that me and Ashley have been working on as far as business goes for 15 years. We've just never been in the comic book industry. So us jumping over here to this space has been phenomenal for us, and so much more fun than the shit we were doing in the past. So comic books has always been a passion for us, but we've never thought about it as a business really until a few years back. We're like, let's just do what we love. Let's find a way to make money with that, And so that's
it's interesting. It's interesting, and I mean, I was watching Gary Vee, and Gary Vee was explaining the impetus of starting a business in 48 seconds or less, and it's a great short. And it said, if I was your son, what would you tell me to start a business? Like, karate. I say, what's your interest? Let's use karate as an example. Do you want to create a karate merch business? Do you want to create karate content? Do you want to produce a karate figurine in Asia? And then he said, I would let you make the decision, and then we would roll from there. And so I never wanted to create a comic book. I just wanted to sell them and sell it on eBay. And it's I don't know if I have a desire to sell it. Or create one. It's a lot of work. And
it is, dude. It's not. You have to be a little crazy to do it. It's not for everyone, and I don't. This isn't my speech to say, hey, like you should go publish your own comic, because most people will fail at doing that, and that's okay. And it's like some people want to be retailers, and you can expand and do so many amazing things with that space too that nobody's done before.
What I want to do, and the sector I want to be in, is I want my own retail variants. I don't want to produce a book. I want to produce covers, and awesome covers.
Yeah.
And because to me, that's enough creative, but there's less risk, where I don't have to go through Kickstarter. I just have to sell a book, and I have to just put the book in the right place and sell the book. And
Yeah.
so I'm at that stage where I don't want to create a thing, and I don't get respected in certain communities because I'm like, look, I don't want to do what you do, but I just want to sell comic books.
Yeah.
And I think it's messed up personally, just on a personal level where I don't do what you do, but retailers and somebody like me should have a seat at the table because just because I don't do a Kickstarter doesn't mean I don't understand it. And it doesn't mean I don't have insight into
Yeah.
a lot of
Oh,
things. I have a different insight because, again, I'm running a business that is very collectible based. And I think it's a big problem. And this is the issue that I run into with people now on
I think
Kickstarter.
that's where you said it perfectly. I think that's where people get disconnected between their business and the collector. It's like if you always remember the collector, whether it's the collector in your heart or the collector that you're selling to, if you remember them, then you can do well with your business. Sometimes that's not the case, and they're thinking about the business. They're not thinking about the collector. When you think about the collector, you can really do some special things, even if it's just that little guy that you once were when at the comic book store that made you excited.
No, this is why I want to get my books cheaper. Because if I get my books at wholesale, I could sell you my books cheaper, which means as a collector, you could get more shit.
Yeah.
So if I have to buy a book for 20, I have to sell the book for more. And it's not that I want to sell the book to somebody for 40 if I buy it for 20.
Mm-hmm.
But and so because I figured out that if I get shit cheaper, I could sell it cheaper. And I'm not looking to make a fortune on every single book for the most part. I'm looking to make anywhere from 16 to 20% after eBay takes everything and I pay back the book. So
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
margins
Fees. Yeah, fees still too. Yeah. All
my
that stuff.
margins aren't great. I'm not looking to make a lot of money per book. I'm looking to make a lot of money in the aggregate.
Yeah.
Because if I make $6 per book, but the book cost me $8 and I sold it for 20 and then shipping 7, but my buyer pays like $5 shipping, I'm making maybe 6, $7 a book. And after everything is paid back and I'm doing all right. And then a piece of that has to come out of taxes. But okay, 20% comes out of that. That's what, $1.40. So now we're at what, 5.60. So I made $5, give or take.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm perfectly
Right.
fine making my $5 because if I'm selling 50 books a week, I'm making $250 that then goes leveraged out into good growth dividend stocks that then produce me monthly dividends. And then the money that the book goes buys another $8 book, and I repeat the process.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's my business is a cash cow, and that's the whole purpose of the business. And that was the intention. My business is set up very
So
good.
has anybody asked you this question? Maybe I'm the first. Do you want to leave your
Oh no,
other job for
no,
comic? Not necessarily now, but someday, 5 years, 10 years down the road.
not at all. Not at all. I
No.
I
Okay.
I have a good job. I'm the only person in my company who does what I do. And I haven't gotten to take the car out in the job yet, but when I do, it's gonna be fun. It's gonna be rewarding. And I work in digital accessibility. So I work for an education company. It's not a secret. And I'm responsible for digital accessibility with a lot of their educational content. That's probably in about 37 to 40 million schools, student wise, that's used. So there's not 40 million people who have disabilities in those schools. It's significantly lower. But that kid who has a disability, I'm responsible for getting that thing up to 80%. And it's very rewarding. I get paid good. My company doesn't torture me. I get health care and
So
I make
you
it.
won twice, my man. You got the job and the side hustle. Both are passions for you.
It gets better
And
too.
then you come on the you come here in conversations in pop culture and do the podcast
And this show is funded by sponsorship money, so it doesn't cost me a penny to do. You want to talk about people who it might not seem like a big deal where my expenses are $240 a year, right? That is covered because of sponsorship money. And most people, I don't think, understand very few podcasts cover their costs. And it might not seem like a big deal. It's a huge deal. And
yeah,
that's
no,
for 10
absolutely,
years.
absolutely. Yeah,
That's
most
for 10 years.
Most people have to fund their own by creating something else to buy, like go buy our t-shirts, that helps us with the podcast or whatever it is, Usually they have to do that afterwards. I mean,
I get made fun of that too.
Feastables.
I get made fun for my sponsorships. I got made fun of for a lot of things, and I'm still standing, everybody. So if people are making fun of me, you want to make fun of me, I'm still standing, but karma's a bitch.
The only person who can judge you is not a person, it's a cheetah. That's right. That's it. The almighty cheetah.
But I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. I think we covered a lot of stuff, obviously.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a buyer from you and a lot of stuff. I'm just broke right now. I have to, let's just say Taylor Swift bankrupted me in a lot of ways. I don't want to talk about it. I spent a lot of money on her. I'm going to make a lot of money too, but that's not the point. I bought a book for $64. I just sold for $125. That Chikari Taylor Swift shit. Oh my fucking God. That little wizard, that Indian wizard is just a monster. He's just a monster cover seller. And I could say that because it's true.
Oh, don't make me pull out my Jamie Tyndall signed Taylor Swift cover myself. Okay, so and I'm not even.
Was it the comic elite version or was it the regular version?
What's the difference? Which one's which? What's I think it's
the regular version is her in Deadpool red. The comics elite is when she's in purple.
Okay, she's in the Deadpool.
Also, you don't have a CE version of that? Oh, you're not a real Swiftie now. I've lost respect for you.
I'm not a real Swiftie. I'll go on record to say, guys, I'm not a Swiftie. If you're a Swiftie, then I'm happy for you. I'd much rather put on a lot of other things. She did not encourage me to watch the Super Bowl. Usher got me close. Okay, Usher got me close to watching the Super Bowl. I did not watch the Super Bowl.
I was encouraged because you had a great showdown between two football teams, and then Taylor Swift was just a bonus. I mean, Usher didn't move me.
Well, you're an actual football watcher. For the other 100 million people that didn't typically watch the Super Bowl, that actually did watch the Super Bowl, were there for their Swiftiness, and
Hey, I have a gambling problem, and I'm well aware of that. I did really good this year on football, like 500 bets. I won 500 bets, and I lost like 75.
That's you go.
Ratio. I also realized my biggest win was like, oh my fucking God, what that I should not have bet the money that I bet. I realized very quickly. I'm like, Jesus freaking Christ. Oh, it was a good day that day though. It's a very good day. But
nice. Well, good for you, man. I'm glad football went your way. I was nose deep in putting up a Kickstarter, so
we're 43 days away from baseball season. That's going to be fun too.
Ooh, okay. Yeah, I'm probably not gonna see. I do have my Buffaloes jersey for the Wazenbacks, but that is my cousin who played. He'll probably be playing for the Rays this year, so shout out. But he was playing in Japan before, so that's all I know about baseball. That's it. So
that's fine. It's all right. This is a safe zone, and we accept all Swifties of all types here. It's okay.
This is my sport. This is my sport right here.
It could be a love story. You could be fearless.
Yeah.
And we will definitely not be so mean about this. And we are never, ever getting back together after this interview. And I'll leave space between our names.
Yes. Doesn't like sports, my ass.
You know what I just did, right? I mean, you I don't know if you caught the joke, right?
Yeah.
It's named like 5 of her songs.
Is that what it is? Okay. No, you got me. Burn.
No. But I do want to promote. It's not a mean joke. It's a punching to the side joke. It's not a punching down joke.
Nice.
But I do want to give you a chance to promote yourself. Where could people find you, bother you, hit you up, back the Kickstarter? I think I put the link in the description too. But
cool. Yeah. Throw the link up. That'd be great. I don't know when this will be officially up after this, but there's like 3 days left.
Seconds later.
There's like 3 days left for the Kickstarter. So here is, there's Cherry Blossom. I don't know where for you to look, but right now on Kickstarter, there's 3 days left to go. It's the Flawless Universe presents Diamond and Cherry Blossom. There's amazing covers all the way through it. It's the first time that we did 2 full runs for cosplay covers, and it's the first time that we did 2 homage covers on one Kickstarter. Okay, so that's kind of a big deal. We did it completely different on our past 2 Kickstarters, and this was kind of a last minute decision. So Spider Gwen and Punchline are a part of what's called the Amethyst cosplay collection. Okay, that'll be starting series 4 of cosplay collections for the Flawless Universe, and so that's number 1 and number 2 of that collection. So the way to get that is by backing the Kickstarter. But on top of that, all the rest of the covers are my characters. Okay, Lily Baker, aka Diamond. There's one of them that actually has Diamond bent over on a diamond. Okay, and then there's also Jenna Shikara, aka Cherry Blossom, who you'll see in the yellow across all the different ones as well. So 2 amazing characters that are going to look hot on covers all the time, and they're going to look great in the stories as well. You'll get that digital copy with anything you back, but I tried to make every cover so good that you couldn't resist getting those bundles at the end. There are 4 bundles. One of them's hidden on there. I'll tell your crowd only. Okay, how about this? Your crowd only knows about this. There's a secret bundle hidden on the Kickstarter. It's called the Hunter Bundle, okay, where you do not have to go and hunt, okay? All you have to do is click on that one, and you get every single cover in paper, okay? You get a paper copy of every single cover that is on the Kickstarter. That is not promoted anywhere on the Kickstarter. That's not promoted anywhere on Instagram, anywhere on my whatnot. It's only being promoted right here to you. It's a secret little bundle that's on there that if you scroll through far enough, you'll find it, and y'all can pick it up. It's an amazing price. You're basically getting $1,200 off by picking that one up. So it's insane for value. But there's also the other ones that are even bigger than that you can get too. So check those out. It's the Flawless Universe, Diamond and Cherry Blossom, the creator Steve Streetman. You can look it up under Steve Streetman, or you can just type in Flawless and you can find it there on Kickstarter. 3 days left to go. It ends at midnight Friday.
Yeah, and then I'm just gonna say it. You have to support indie, and what that means is you have to back people's Kickstarters. You have to follow them. You got to share out those links. You got to definitely support people, follow them on social media, all that fun stuff. And also, even after a Kickstarter, obviously there's the Flawless Universe. There's the Stupid Little Monkey shop. There's whatnot. You got to follow them there. Buy stuff. It helps a lot. Things like
a lot of people don't even know Stupid Little Monkey is also the Flawless Universe. So like that is one of those things that people will pop into our room on whatnot and be like, "Oh, y'all have the Flawless Universe stuff?" Yeah, we kind of created it. It's kind of like been both ways to where it's like, and the same thing with our Instagram too. They're like, "Oh, that's you guys," and so it's kind of cool to see that happening now, and people will jump in. And if you come to whatnot, you pick up a cover, you want a signature, it gets thrown in there, no charge. COA comes with it. Like, we're just excited to see that we've got fans, so it's been a lot of fun.
we'll sift that in 90 days because that's a hot topic. But anyway, I digress. But as I was stating, you have to support businesses that you want to see succeed, and it is a big deal, and it is extremely important, and it goes a long way. And if money's tight, and trust me, it happens to all of us, a follow on social media is free, and that also goes a long way. A subscribe on YouTube or on whatnot, or a follow goes a long way too.
Yeah. If you're not following us on whatnot, you're probably missing out because we do some wild stuff over there, and it is a great opportunity for anybody who's wanting to get their hands on some stuff. So check that out. And then we also have I can say this here. It's funny, I can't say it on whatnot. We have an auction on our website. It's currently down because we are leaving for Japan and we manage everything, but we've got the auction there as well. And we've also got some other, we are working on integrating live auctions on the website. So we'll be doing it just like this. We'll be face-to-face with you, talking to people in the chat on the website coming in the near future as well. I'll spoil that little secret. That'll be the last one. That's the last one I'm giving you, Andrew.
Yeah, that's fine with me. And then obviously I'm going to promote myself. I am Pop Anime Comics on Twitter/X, Pop Anime Comics on Instagram, Pop Anime Comics on Facebook, Pop Anime Comics on YouTube. Please subscribe. I need the subscriptions. I really do. We're at 575, and I appreciate everybody subscribes and watches my stuff. I got like 1,400 videos, so I can promise you'll be entertained. TikTok is Pop Anime Comics, and anything Pop Anime Comics is really mine. So typically, that's kind of my jam. Conversations in pop culture as well. You can find me. And if you hit me up and you're looking for an interview, just say, hey, I've sort of what you do, and I would love to be on your show, and we'll talk from there. I try to get as many people as I can, but I can't make any promises. And then finally, I run an eBay store called Pop Anime Comics Collectibles, and I carry a lot of merch. And I do a little thing that's a little bad for some people, and some people don't like it. But I buy out print runs from Mount Olympus a lot. So I have all 15 of these in hollow foil. And so if you want one of those, and I try to keep those prices reasonable, because I understand that I don't need to make a lot of money, but I would like to make some. And I picked up this one right here. And she's special because she becomes eventually like me, but I'm not going to tell you how. And I'm going to leave that to the imagination, but I have a disability, so that's the only clue I'm going to give you. And I do have some Merc Mag. I bought out Shikari cover and hollow foil, all 10 of them. So that's coming too. So got a lot of cool stuff coming. So yeah, that's everything that I got going on. So yeah, and that's pretty much it. So buy my merch, everybody. Oh, and one more thing that's in my store, but it might be hard to see because he's invisible. I didn't see anything. Did you see anything?
Did you do something?
I didn't see anything. I mean,
I didn't see anything change. The screen was the same.
you can't see it, right? I can't see it. It's a complicated card, everybody. It's a complicated card. But anyway, that's all I got. And those are in my store, and they're very cool. And they were actually pulled off of Leaf Metal's website, I think around 10 o'clock today. So you have to go find it elsewhere. But for anybody who wants that card and sees this, I will do it for $32. And I'm asking 38. Just say, hey, you saw Conversations about Culture. I'll get you in for $32. And I think I have like 8 of them. So if anybody wants one of those, $32. Otherwise, you can pay full price if you don't mention that in the offer box. But I digress. And I'm going to give you the final word.
And it's always a pleasure to come and join you in second round with you. The first one was pure entertainment. Today we got into technicals. Who knows what the third will have? So
that works. And I don't think I could have said that any better myself. And I'll see you in 90 days.
You got it. 90 days it is.